What is going on, guys? It is Mr. Creatine, and I would just like to say thank you guys for getting me up past 300 subs. Considering during the last story time I was only at like 150 or something. It's really nice to see the number has gone up that fast, and yeah, let's get into today's story time. So this one's another one back from the summer of my ninth grade year, like a month after the first time I had greened out, which is going to be important for later in the story time because I was not at all smoking at the time because of this. I just didn't want to green out again, and in my little 15-year-old brain I was going to. But anyway, this day begins as a pretty normal day. I had woken up pretty early in the morning. It was a Thursday. I had football practice later that day, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I was bored as hell in this current moment in the morning, and that's when me and this one girl, who we'll just call Cassidy, started messaging each other, and these messages were not the most, like, PG, we'll say, and me and Cassidy had history with each other before, so this wasn't exactly shocking to me. And after a little bit of us just like texting each other for a little while back and forth, she just lets me know that, hey, nobody's home right now, like, you should come over. And I start texting her back. I'm like, you know what? If I can find a ride over, I definitely will. And she lived another town over, and I was not walking over there. So I started going through my friends list on Snap trying to see who would maybe take me down there. And I'm realizing I have fucking nobody who can drive at this current moment. So I get the devious plan in mind that I'm going to go try and convince my mom to drive me over to this other town under the false like pretense that I was just going to be hanging out with a bunch of my friends, when in all reality I was just going to go hang out at a girl's house. So I went out to the living room to go talk to my mom, and I just started asking her, like, hey, would you take me to this other town here in a little bit so I can go hang out with some of my friends? And she's like, I don't know, maybe like what time. I was like, I don't know, I could probably let you know that in like 10 minutes or so. And she's like, okay, when would you need picked up? I was like, I don't know, if I just like text you and ask you to pick me up, does that work? She's like, okay, I guess, but like, just let me know when I need to take you down there. And I was like, okay, I will. And I went back to my room. I started texting Cassidy again, and she's like, just come over as soon as possible. I don't know when my family's gonna be back because her mom, dad, and brother were all out doing stuff. And I was like, okay, yeah, I can be down in a little bit. And I went back out to the living room. And I told my mom, I was like, hey, I'm basically good to go whenever. Like, are you ready? She's like, give me a little bit to get ready, then we can go. And like 10 minutes later, I would say we had both left, and I just had her drop me off at like this playground that was in the middle of the town because I didn't want her seeing like where I was going in case she knew Cassidy's parents. And so I just started walking down the sidewalk to Cassidy's house. I'm texting her. I'm like, hey, like, I'm in the town. I'm walking to your house right now. And she's like, okay, I'll come meet up with you. And after like 5 minutes or so, we meet up. We're walking back to her house, and we get there and we start hanging out. And after like 20-25 minutes of us hanging out, we start getting a little like freaky with each other, I'm not gonna lie. And eventually we just start having sex. And after like 45 minutes or so of us just doing that, we get done. We just start chilling, like hanging out again. And she starts getting on the good old fucking Life 360 to track where her parents are. And to our dismay, they were on the way home and they were getting dangerously close. So she looked at me. She's like, hey, they're almost here. Like, you need to go, like, right now. And I was like, okay, like, fuck it. And I just started getting my shit around, and I left. I texted my mom. I was like, hey, can you come pick me up? And she's like, it's only been like a fucking hour, an hour and a half. Like, what happened? I was like, they weren't supposed to have like that many of us over at the house, so a bunch of us got kicked out. And she's like, well, fine, I'll be over to come get you. And after like 10-15 minutes, she came back and picked me up from the exact same park, and I kind of just went home from there. And by this point in time, I believe there was like 2 hours or so before I had to go to football practice. So when I got home and I was just chilling there, I had kind of just decided that I did not feel like going to practice anymore. It had been a long day in my eyes. And I told my mom that. I was like, listen, I don't want to go to practice today. It's been a long day. She's like, it's only like early afternoon, but fucking whatever. And in my mind, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm chilling. Like, it's Thursday. It's the last day of practice for the week. Like, I can just tell the coaches that I got sick and was like sick into the weekend, and that's why I missed. So we'll fast forward to like just at some point into the weekend, like Saturday or Sunday, and my friend Evan had texted me, and he had told me that this one dude who I've spoken about in previous stories, Max, who somebody I was friends with at the time, had told the coaches that I had skipped practice to like smoke weed, so they would be having a talk with me when I get back on Monday for our next practice. And now I'm trying to get like a little more information out of Evan, trying to see if this is like all he found out. He said this was all he had heard pretty much. So I was pretty much just in the dark on everything else, and this had me basically shitting my pants up until I went back to practice on Monday. And when I went back, everything was normal. I had went there, I had lifted a little, and eventually I get called down to like the little coach's office in the locker room, because the way the locker room had worked, you went downstairs from like right across the weight room, and then there was the freshman sophomore lockers where I would be at because I was going to be a sophomore like that upcoming year, and then you had like the junior senior locker room. And I'd gotten called out from the freshman sophomore locker room, went into the coach's office to go talk to them, and they essentially asked me, they're like, "Where were you at on Thursday?" I was like, "Oh, I'd gotten sick and was basically just feeling like hell most of the weekend." And they're like, "Well, Max, he came to us when we asked him where you had been, and he said that you probably were out smoking weed." And I was like, "I don't even do that. Like, I had a really bad experience a while ago, and I made my greening ad experience seem like it was so much longer ago." And I was like, "Yeah, I just don't do that anymore. Like, I just don't like it." And they're like, "Okay, well, that's good." And they're like, "So you weren't skipping practice to smoke weed, correct?" And I was like, "No, I just didn't feel good. You can ask my mom, because I was over at my mom's house on that weekend." And they had kind of just sent me out of the coach's office. They were like, "Since you didn't admit to like smoking or anything, like you're a really dedicated player and everything, because this is when I was really dedicated to football and everything." They're like, "We won't do anything about the fact that you used to or nothing. Just don't be doing that. It's bad for you." And yeah, they had just sent me out of the office. I went back to the locker room, and I went up to Evan, and I'm not gonna lie, I just started talking the most shit on Max, like, and I feel as if I was in every one of my rights too. And me and Evan are just sitting there talking. We go through with practice. Max wasn't there that day, surprisingly, and then we kind of just both went about our ways after practice. And we'll fast forward to the next practice Max was at, and once again it starts out as a pretty normal practice. I go there, I lift a little bit, I go down to the freshman sophomore locker room again to start chilling with my friends, Evan and a few other people. And eventually Max comes down there, and I walk up to Max and I'm like, "Dude, like, why the fuck would you tell the coaches I skipped practice to smoke? Because first off, I wasn't even skipping practice to smoke, and second off, I don't even smoke like at all." And I was lying my ass off in that moment, and he probably knew that I was, but I was just straight up like, "Dude, like, what the fuck?" And he's just like, "Dude, I don't know, just, I don't want to talk about it, leave me alone." And I was like, "Okay, whatever, Max." And this caused me and Max to, like, not be friends for a long ass time, like, pretty understandably. He could not keep secrets, apparently. Even when I wasn't even smoking, he couldn't keep the secret. But yeah, and to this day, I still don't know why he even did this. Like, he never told me, and his dad, the one that dated the porn star from that one video I made, he even asked him like why he told the coaches that, and he still doesn't know why, and even his dad thought it was fucking stupid. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed today's story time about me having sex and my coaches thinking I was smoking weed instead of doing that, and then thinking I was sick instead of doing that. But yeah, if you guys like today's story time, just drop a like, comment, subscribe. It would be really helpful. And I'm gonna keep like posting polls up in my community page like I did the other day, because I feel like it gives me better insight due to the fact that not a lot of you guys comment on like what kind of videos you guys want to see from me. But I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.